What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Shout out to the members that came on at 7:30 to help prep for the show. Helped out with some of these topics, perfectly laid out on this side. Look at this. Look at the members' work right there. Look at the members' work. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for being here, even after the Lakers lose again. We got a fun show today. We got a busy show. Busy show. You guys know how this works. We get a guest on, and guest, we get busy. It's like the itinerary is busy. You ever go on vacation? I don't know what kind of vacationer you guys are. Are you guys the type of vacationer that just kind of sits back and does nothing? Or do you try to fill up your entire day? I'm annoying. I'm kind of filling up the entire day. Let's get up at the crack of dawn. Let's go do this, and then go do that, and then we'll go eat here, then we'll come back, quick cat nap, and then we're back out again. That's the itinerary today when I have a guest on. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you very much for being here. What do we got here? We're reacting to Lakers and the Suns. Obviously, Lakers got a game coming up tomorrow against the Houston Rockets, a Christmas Day game. Just quick heads up as well. No live show tomorrow, period. I'm going to do a show post-game, but I'm going to record it. But no live show tomorrow. So no live show in the morning, no live show after the game. Whatever I put up tomorrow post-game is the content that we'll just use on Friday, because I'm also not going to be doing a show on Friday. So we'll take Thursday and Friday off. Probably going to take a similar, technically you could say just Friday off. Probably going to have a similar strategy for New Year's as well. Let's give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today. Thank you very much for being here. We'll talk a little bit about that loss last night, Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. Some stuff that stood out to us, right? Some areas of the Lakers that clearly are becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and it's becoming a little bit more of a theme now. So sometimes you might have one poor game. Sometimes you might be in a situation or a position where the team isn't playing well for a stretch. We're starting to kind of get into that territory for the Lakers. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games, and we'll hit a little bit on how they lost to the Suns yesterday, which is very similar to how they lost some of their other games. Some of those JJ Redick quotes. Redick had some quotes yesterday. Sometimes if you're looking for, I waited on the post-game show till I got a chance to hear JJ Redick. If you're waiting to hear some quotes from JJ Redick that talk a little bit about this team and talk about maybe some of the frustration that he has, or talks about, all the different things that might come into JJ Redick's mind just based on the way the Lakers are playing, go back and listen to JJ Redick. He had some quotes yesterday, so we can hit on some of that as well. I think a question too, what's being questioned now for the Lakers is their effort. Their personnel is also being questioned, but the effort piece of it for me is kind of a simple one. If you got effort questions, then I also got to spend a little bit of time talking about, your head coach. How much of that is on your head coach? That's up to your head coach to get everybody kind of ready to go and ready for the game. And if that's not happening, obviously that's an issue. So we'll talk about how much of this is on JJ Redick's back. The injuries, yes, is part of the story. And I think it would obviously, we're not telling the full story if we're not talking about the Laker injuries. One of the members today was telling me that the second most starting lineups in the NBA are the Lakers. So yes, we got to tell the full story, and the full story also has the fact that the Lakers are not healthy, but I think there's more to it than just that. Ryan Hollins does color commentating for the Houston Rockets, was there yesterday, obviously working when the Rockets were taking on the Clippers. Clippers blow out the Rockets. What's going on here? He'll come on the show. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA, and then we'll also hit on, obviously, the Lakers and the Rockets coming up tomorrow on Christmas Day. So we're going to be hitting on that as well. A couple stories around the NBA. Yesterday they had, I think, only 2 teams didn't play. So they had 14 games yesterday. only, if I'm right, the Warriors and the Celtics didn't play. I think those are the only two teams that didn't play yesterday. And so everybody basically played. So tonight, nobody plays. Nobody plays on Christmas Eve. You got the 5 games coming up tomorrow, and then all the games are basically back in action starting on Friday. So we'll get a little bit into the NBA, but a couple of really good games. I mean, the San Antonio Spurs now have beat the Oklahoma City Thunder twice in the last, I don't know, handful of days. Pretty impressive what they've done. So I think they should be changing a little bit of the scope of how people are thinking about the San Antonio Spurs, and maybe the Thunder aren't, untouchable like we thought they were. Okay, let me take a look at a couple of the comments here. We'll get the show started. I don't know if I've been missing some of these. Any lesson you refuse to learn will repeat itself until you do. I may have just not been seeing some of these in the chat. I don't know. Maybe Ocean Breeze decided to take some time off himself, but thank you, Ocean Breeze. Appreciate you throwing in that quote. Jake Laravia was 11 of 48 from the 3 the past 17 games before last night. Well, at least he's not taking a lot of threes. That could be a positive one. Slee, show the record player. I was doing the show with the members. That's a record player right there. And nobody can tell that it's a record player. So just so you guys know, it's a record player. I would like people to just compliment. Just say, Slee, holy shit, that's one of the greatest record players that I've ever seen. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. See that? I need attention. That's pathetic, Al. If LeBron didn't play, they'd have lost by 50. I'm a Laker fan, and I got the Rockets. They're struggling too. They're struggling too. So don't they're not exactly the best out there. Damn, Slee's way or the highway? Get no idea what that means. Give me some more context there. Oh, I think the travel thing. Yeah, I think you might be right on the. Yeah, that's a little annoying, right? It's like 7 a.m. on vacation. I come back so much more tired after a vacation. All right. Let's get started on this. Let's get started here. Let's get started. I want to read one more. I saw one other comment here. By the way, we're chilling today. What the hell? It's Christmas Eve. I mean, who gives a flying F right now? All right, here's what we got. Somebody was offering me tamales. Was that this show or was that the previous show? Let's meet up. Almost like we're doing like an old school drug deal, Almost like it's an old school drug deal, but really it's like, hey, how many you got? I got 6 of them. All right, where are they at? They're in the trunk. Okay. You just kind of slip them a 20. There's a cop in the parking lot looking too. He's like, what are these idiots doing? I'm like, got chicken and cheese. And then you take the tamales and you speed off. You just peel out in the parking lot at Ralph's. You take off. It's a drug deal with this tamales. Where's everybody else? Nobody else offering me tamales? What kind of a freaking show is this? I thought we had a nice community here. We're taking care of each other. Got one person that offered me tamales. All right, let's get the show started. Let's get started. All right, Lakers lose to the Phoenix Suns. Oh, that was fun yesterday. By the way, didn't it just tell, like, you could just kind of tell the vibe of the game? Early on, Lakers went up 5-0, and I'm like, maybe the Lakers, maybe they came ready to play. End of the first quarter, only down 3, and you're like, all right, maybe we got something here. Second quarter starts rolling in, and you're like, yeah, they're not winning this game. No, my issue with the Lakers more than anything else, right? You don't have to win these games. I know some of the topics are going to get into some of the injuries, how much of this is an excuse, how much of this is legit. I get all that, and we'll hit on all that stuff. My bigger issue is, was there a point you were watching the game yesterday when that second quarter started where you're saying to yourself, yeah, I think the Lakers will be in the game by the time the fourth quarter starts? I think that's maybe my bigger issue. Phoenix, the Clippers, a couple of these other teams that have beat the Lakers over these last handful of games. My bigger issue is they don't play enough defense to keep themselves in a game. Trying to see some of the losses that they had. The loss against the Spurs, they gave up 132. The loss to the Celtics, they gave up 126. And by the way, these are also that loss that they had against the Phoenix Suns, not this one, the previous one at Crypto, they gave up 125. The for me, it's less to do with when you have a team that can't get stops, then you better be leading basically the entire game. Because if you're a squad out there that can't get runs, those 10-0 runs, or just have 4 or 5 consecutive stops on the defensive side, then you're obviously you're playing with fire. I don't have to tell anybody that. You're clearly playing with fire. And I thought last night was no different. I thought for me, the part that's been most disappointing watching Lakers basketball right now is you can tell by the vibe of the game it's not going to be a game by the time the fourth quarter starts. It's just not going to be. There's some reasons for it. There's some excuses for it. But the biggest takeaway, and the only thing that you could pay attention to with the Lakers, is they cannot figure out a way to string together some stops. They gave up 38 points in the second quarter and 45 in the third quarter. I'm going to try to do my math here. What is that? 83 maybe? In a span of 2 quarters, they gave up 83 points. A lot of these teams, too, that have been, putting up a lot of points on the Lakers, they're taking their foot off the gas, too, in that fourth quarter. I mean, that Boston Celtics game I'm just thinking about right now. Yesterday against the Phoenix Suns, a lot of their main players, how many minutes did some of these guys play? Devin Booker played 27 minutes yesterday. Dillon Brooks only played 24 minutes. Lakers kind of figured out a way to get load management. They just did it in the opposite direction. They did it off the wrong blowout. But the biggest issue, I think, watching this Lakers team play is you don't have to get through many quarters to realize, this is not going to be a game in the fourth quarter. And that's all you're really asking for. They do have injuries. Listen, not having Luka Doncic out there, you're at such an incredible disadvantage. Austin Reeves was going to be on a minutes restriction yesterday. You might love Rui Hachimura. You may hate Rui Hachimura. It doesn't matter. Gabe Vincent put in that category as well, and I'm very critical on Gabe Vincent. They're missing key players. The problem with the Lakers is their identity earlier in the season was all about, we're not 100% healthy, but we're going to fight and we're going to claw and we're going to find a way to stay in the game. And you know what? We just might beat some teams in the process because we're playing really, really hard. It could be the win against the Minnesota Timberwolves at Minnesota where they're missing a lot of guys. The game at Portland, they had some games earlier in the season. I'm trying to think, Philly, Toronto. There have been some games they've played where they probably shouldn't be in the game in the fourth quarter, and they've squeezed away and they found a way to win. That's part of the reason why you give the Lakers a lot of credit for what they've been able to accomplish this year. This last 10, handful of games, maybe these last 10 games, is anybody walking away and saying to themselves, I love the effort of the Lakers. I love what they're, bringing to the table. I like strategically, not just what they're doing, but also just they muddy the water and they just play really hard and everything else. That, to me, I think has been the bigger issue. The bigger issue is we're clearly watching a team right now where personnel is a problem, defense is a problem, injuries is a problem, and then you got this, the last thing that you want here is fans or media describing your team and your players as like, they just don't give it everything they got. That Lakers don't have that margin for error. So last night's game, I thought, was just kind of indicative of what it's been for the Lakers over the course of the last couple of weeks. No real difference. They can win some games. It's not like they can't. But even the games that they're winning, there's glaring holes. I remember when Lakers beat Utah, and I think they gave up 135. And one of the things I was saying was like, look, that's fine. They beat the Utah Jazz. Great. Awesome. You take it. But we be honest here, like they barely won this game against the Utah Jazz, and Utah didn't even have Lauri Markkanen that was playing. So even some of the wins that they had are a little bit concerning. Okay, I'm going to look at some of the comments, and then I got some JJ Redick quotes that I want to read, and I definitely have a conversation that I want to have in regards to JJ Redick. How much of this is on JJ as well? Before I do so, shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. The website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You go to that website, get an absolutely free consultation. Obviously, great for any of our listeners. He's going to try to do everything he can to try to help you. He's an injury attorney. He can help anybody in the state of California. Insurance companies don't like dealing with people like Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm because he knows what he's doing. He's a pro's pro. Certainly has been in the game for a long time, and he'll do whatever it takes to try to help his clientele and his people. So with that in mind, again, serious injury, wrongful death case. You guys have heard him on this channel before. I've brought him on. We've had plenty of NBA and Laker conversations. He obviously loves Lakers basketball. But there is a website to go to. I hope you don't need him. If you do, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Okay, let's go back here to some of the comments. Why don't they try to get easier shots like posting up DA instead of jacking up threes so much? You know what's funny about that? They're also an awful three-point shooting team. Let me go back to yesterday's game because I thought there was something interesting happening in yesterday's game, which is not exactly the way the NBA is played right now. I heard Billy Mack and Stu during the game talking about how many paint points the Phoenix Suns were getting, how everything was about going to the basket, how everything was kind of get downhill, try to get as many buckets as you can. They almost had 70 points in the paint, something along those lines. I think just under 70. And I'll tie this back to what you're saying here. The Phoenix Suns are a better three-point shooting team than the Lakers. They move the ball more crisper than the Lakers. More guys get involved, which makes them, a lot more dangerous on offense. You take all of that into account, and here were the Phoenix Suns. They weren't jacking up three after three. So even though they're a better three-point shooting team, even though there's more of a balance on their roster of, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I know Devin Booker's the best player on the team. I know Dylan Brooks is good. I know Colin Gillespie is having a phenomenal season. They didn't force threes. They were like, all right, well, Lakers are giving us all these twos. Let's just keep taking these twos. And I thought that was, that kind of goes away from what today's NBA is. NBA, everybody's just forcing it down. We're going to take as many threes as possible, take as many threes. The Lakers have a tendency to shoot threes, and they're not a three-point shooting team. You got to at one point play to your strengths, and I think it's a good point. I really do. Okay, let's get some more here. Out of all the Lakers, I'm disappointed in. It's a tie. I'm not sure if I completely understand that one. I don't like the stagnant offense, not enough cutting, moving. This is on JJ. We're going to get into JJ in 2 seconds. Let me read a couple more and go from there. LeBron's chemistry isn't working. I don't think it's a LeBron thing, guys. I really don't. I think they got issues. I think they got problems. I don't think LeBron's chemistry is what's the issue. Okay, I want to read some of these quotes here. Okay, I'm going to have Ryan Hollins on at 8:30, so I want to kind of try to get through as much as I can before he comes on. Let me read some of the quotes coming from JJ last night. Okay? Here's what he said. He was asked, kind of interesting quotes here. I'm going to read this article from Dave McMenamin on ESPN. Does your effort have enough players who are hardwired to play with consistent effort and physicality the way a team like the Suns play every night? His answer, no. Okay. Third quarter, Lakers come out after halftime. They get outscored 45-29. The Suns shoot 72% from the field and 83% from the three-point line in the period. He said, we practice this stuff enough. We review this stuff enough. We show film on this stuff enough. It comes down to just making the choice. It's making the choice. I'm going to keep reading here. There are shortcuts you can take, or you can do it, or you can do the hard thing, and you can make the second effort, or you can sprint back, or you can't. It's just a choice. And there's a million choices in a game, and you're very likely not going to make every choice correctly. But can you make the vast majority of them correctly? It gives you a chance to win. Choices is about effort, some of that stuff that he's referring to as well. He had another quote here that I'm trying to find as I say this. He said, "The theme with our team again is like these young teams that move, we just can't move. So it's like we're stuck in the mud." I'm just kind of trying to read in between the lines here with JJ Redick. There's a part of, I think, what he's saying is the effort's not there. And there's another part that he's saying here. I think the theme with our team, again, is like these young teams that move. We just can't move. So it's like we're stuck in the mud. I think another thing he's saying there is I don't have the personnel to do what I need to do. So on one side, JJ Redick is questioning the effort of his players, which is fine. That's what he should do. It's his team. Call out the players as much as you can if you feel like they need to be called out. You got to balance how often you call them out. Is it going to help your team? Is it going to hurt your team? If you do it too often, what does that ultimately look like? Do you lose some of the players? Whatever. I'm just kind of, talking out of my what. Okay. The other issue that JJ points out is it sounds like he's talking about the personnel. There are young teams that move. We just can't move. So he's got a couple of things that he's mentioning here. Here's my issue with JJ, or here's where I put responsibility on JJ Redick. JJ can't help having so many players out to start the season. JJ can't help Luka being out, Austin Reeves, LeBron missing the first 14 games, and then some of these other guys as well. Jackson Hayes has missed some time. DeAndre Ayton's missed some time. You got guys that have missed time, so it's not like the Lakers haven't had players that have been out. My issue with JJ is more this. Why aren't your guys given the effort that you want? If effort's the problem, then all right, well, what's the issue then? How come effort's an issue? What is it that you're not doing, or what is the message that's not getting across in regards to what the Lakers are doing, how they're playing, defensive rotations? They got personnel issues, sure. I don't question that. They got personnel issues. They're still 10 games over 500, but I think we're starting to realize here that there's some bigger issues there. And that 10 games over 500, that cushion that they built up, that could be gone in no time. I mean, you keep losing a few more of these games, you're sixth in the Western Conference. I mean, that could change like that, and we could be talking about something completely different. Go look at the standings. I was looking at them yesterday. There's a lot of good teams that are either moving up or teams that are separating themselves. San Antonio Spurs kind of separating themselves. Minnesota moving up. Houston kind of a little bit all over the place. Denver lost by 1 against Dallas yesterday. So it's not like all these teams are perfect. If you have effort issues on your team, if your team is not giving you the proper effort, how much of that is on your coach? Just pretend you're running a business here. And you got 10 people that are working under you. And you come into the office and you got a couple of guys that are calling in saying, you know what, I can't make it today. You got a couple other people that are like, you know what, I got to leave a little early today. I got to be out of here by 2:00. I got this to do. I got that to do. I got this to do. I mean, you could go tell the higher ups, you could say, I'm not getting what I need from these people. But you know what eventually happens as well? The higher ups are going to ask, well, why aren't they listening to their leader? I'm not telling you that's where the Lakers are, but what I'm telling you is, as somebody who's a fan of JJ Redick, who I think JJ Redick has done a good job with the Lakers so far in this year and a half that he's been the Lakers head coach. He's got some flaws, no question about it. But if you're having effort issues, how much of that is on your shoulders? That's the one area that is concerning to me right now with JJ Redick. He's not wrong with saying, you know what, we got some players that are pretty damn slow. I'm paraphrasing, but obviously I was reading that quote from earlier. He's not wrong in saying some of the things he was talking about with the injuries. Nobody's wrong on any of that stuff. But one thing that can't happen on a consistent basis, and I feel like it's starting to happen, man, Lakers are giving up in games. They look discouraged. Their shoulders are shrugged. Doesn't look like there's a solution. There's really no fight on this team. So there's a little bit there that I think is frustrating. I think a little bit there that is also bringing up some fair questions. All right, I'm going to look at a couple of your comments here, and we'll keep things going. JJ needs to be held responsible too. His offense has been predictable, and he should have had these players engaged despite their shortcomings. I'm okay with a bad offense. By the way, thank you for the super brother. I appreciate it. I'm okay with a bad offense. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Sometimes shots are not going to fall. I feel like those are more correctable. I think Austin Reeves is going to get back into a rhythm. He'll look better. Luka's going to eventually come back, and frankly, they'll be putting up 125, 130 points a game. They just got a lot of offensive weapons. Rui's going to come back. I'm okay offensively for the Lakers. I think they're going to figure it out. I do think they are predictable. I can't stand. I was mentioning yesterday, one of the things I don't like from Luka's game, there is way too much stagnant basketball. A lot of people just watching Luka. But you can put up 125 points a game. The problem is you're giving up 130. That's the problem. The last 10 games for the Lakers, they're 500. If you really look at the last 9 games, they're 4-5. But last 10 games, they're giving up over 121 points per game in those games. No, there's coaching that's involved in that. And I don't care if guys are missing shots. I don't care if you get the right looks. I don't care if it's like, all right, we had a couple of turnovers, this, that. That's fine. That happens in a game. But if the coach keeps questioning your effort, I start questioning your coach. Because if the coach is saying, I'm not getting what I need from these players, then I start turning to, okay, well, why isn't the coach getting what he needs from these players? So I do think there's responsibility on JJ Redick. Of course I do. And again, I'll go back to saying what I said. They have injuries. A lot of guys have been out of the starting lineup. Luka's out right now. I wasn't expecting them to win that game yesterday. I wasn't expecting them to win that game against the Clippers. But the portion that bothers me or is concerning is when the Lakers let go of the rope, they just let go of the rope. And to be honest, I don't know how much resistance there is of pulling that rope back. It's kind of been how some of these Laker teams have been in past years. All right, let's get another super in here. The problem is the Lakers' big three. How can you consistently win and dominate games when your big three is just pure offense and could not defend? I think big picture, yes, that is an issue. I think in the playoffs, yes, I think that's going to be an issue. I don't question any of that. But what did they start the season? 18-7, something like that? I mean, there's a point in the season here early on where they're 10, 11, 12 games. Maybe they didn't get to 12 games. They can win regular season games with the big three. The bigger problem, I heard Tim McMahon today and Kendrick Perkins talking on ESPN. I didn't grab the clip. I wasn't able to anyways. It's on ESPN, so there's a lot of ads and stuff. It wasn't on YouTube, so I didn't grab it. But basically, they're just like, look, you can't take this team seriously unless they go trade for guys that can help them get some stops. You're not wrong on the big three and guys that are just able to score. You're not wrong on that. And oh, by the way, the bench is not consistent. The role players are not consistent. There's a lot of other things that, Lakers have flaws in, but these are just to kind of list out a few here. They can win games in the regular season. I don't think they can win playoff series against teams that have that better balance of offense and defense. Thank you for the super brother. I appreciate it. Let's get another one in here. Say what you want. Luka and Reeves been carrying. They have been carrying. I listen. By the way, there aren't too many comments here that I think are positive about Austin Reeves. I think there's a lot of times where people are very, very critical about Austin Reeves. A lot of times. I think people are more critical recently about Luka. They have carried the Lakers. They are 10 games over 500. And like I said, if they're healthy, they're going to win a lot of games. That's not going to be the question. The question for the Lakers is why all of a sudden that team that we were watching earlier, I mentioned a member said to me, there was a time during the season where, let me find this. There was a time during the season where the Lakers were shorthanded in Sacramento. They were shorthanded against Minnesota. They were shorthanded against the Portland Trailblazers. They've had a lot of games where they were shorthanded and still found ways to win. The Milwaukee game, that's what the listener mentioned. One of the members mentioned this morning. Talk about the Bucks game. There have been games the Lakers have been shorthanded. They still found ways to win. Right now, I think the bigger problem for the Lake Show is we're straight up questioning just effort. Like effort. I mean, if you don't have that portion of it, obviously that's a big time issue right there. And yes, they can have some excuses. Yes, they can have some injuries. But there's a lot of post games right now where Redick is questioning some of the Lakers' just effort. I do put some of that on the coaching staff, and we'll obviously see what the Lakers do from here. All right, as mentioned, I mentioned we're going to have a guest on today, and there's no better person to ask about some of this stuff. Somebody that was in the league for 10 years, somebody that obviously watching NBA basketball on a day in, day out basis or night in, night out basis. Ryan Hollins joining the show here. Love to get his perspective on the Lakers and the Houston Rockets, of course, because Lakers got the Rockets tomorrow. What's going on, Ryan? Good morning, brother.
What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Been a
Good,
while.
good. I know it's been a little bit. Thank you yesterday. I know we wanted to kind of make this work. Lakers got the Rockets coming up tomorrow on Christmas, so it's a perfect day to have you on. Let me ask you this question, and we'll get into the Rockets, and you'll break it all down. But let's take the Rockets hat off for a quick second. Let's just talk as a former NBA player, a 10-year vet in the league. The JJ had some quotes yesterday where he's kind of questioning some of the effort from some of the players. He said this, and I think you'll see some of this tomorrow. He said, from a personnel perspective, he said, the theme with our team, again, these young teams that move, we just can't move. So it's like we're stuck in the mud. So there's a little bit of talking about the team's effort, and then there's also talking about the personnel that the team has. Anytime you went through a season, how common is it to just watch a team that you were on or a team that you're analyzing or broadcasting for? How common is it for coaches at the end to just say, yeah, I just our team just didn't play hard enough? Is that more common than we're accustomed to?
Yeah, I mean, there's no problem when coaches or no surprise to say that they outworked us, they played harder, and especially when you're a group that has expectations, or you got to give yourself a chance to compete. I was always taught by coaches that I don't ever want to have to coach effort. I'll coach the game, but I don't want to have to ever coach effort, and that's tough. So, from an effort standpoint, that's something where coaches will have kind of a non-negotiable, or give credit where it's due. And especially if you got outworked. And I think that, frustration, um, in hindsight, is always going to be the Suns right now, or Dylan Brooks. Let's just call it what it is. And,
Mm,
he's a guy who works extremely hard, and he's going to frustrate you because you look at his game and you feel like, well, we're better. He's just outworking us. He's doing a
sure.
lot more things than that. But it is frustrating because you look at him and say, well, I've done X, Y, and Z, we did all this, and Dylan finds a way to outwork you.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, and you have a great insight on that. Obviously, Dylan Brooks part of the Rockets last year. Now, obviously, with the Phoenix Suns. There's so many places kind of want to jump around to. I know the Lakers got the Rockets coming up tomorrow. Um, Before we get into that matchup, can you just what's your thoughts on the Western Conference right now? I don't every time I feel like I got a pretty good understanding. I see the Rockets get blown out yesterday. Lakers have a few injuries, and now they're giving up over 120 points a game over the last 10 games. Denver loses by one yesterday against the Dallas Mavericks. San Antonio is playing as good as basketball as anybody. They've now beat the Thunder twice in the last, what do you want to call it, 10 days. Do you feel like you have a grasp of the Western Conference, or do you think we're still kind of figuring out who the elite of the league is?
I do. And I'm going to give it to you because, man, you'd have thought the Clippers were title contenders yesterday if you saw the way they played and they were clicking. Not that
Remember, they had
they
they had
don't.
Lakers. They had Lakers the game before that, and it was the same thing.
Mhm.
Now, I listen. Luka doesn't play. AR doesn't play. There's some key players that were out, but I'm with you. Kawhi looked like Kawhi. Harden looked like Kawhi. All of a sudden, John Collins looked like the player that they thought they were going to get. So, but continue.
Here's this would help you here. Look at rosters. Don't look at records. Rosters over records all day. When you have a capable group, understand that you're going to be in for a long night, and understand that the Clippers lost a lot of games that were close. Understand the Sacramento Kings, or unfortunately Rockets lost to, we're losing a lot of close games. And when you're seeing a group that's losing close games, or they have a formidable roster, or they have a player that can close, you're in for a ride each and every night. DeMar DeRozan can close games. If
Mm,
you let him get hot and get going, there's not much you're going to do to be able to stop him. Um, Kawhi Leonard, as you just spoke of,
mm,
obviously, we've always said it's a matter of health, and for some reason, this last 2 years, we're not saying it's a matter of health. We're saying he don't got it. No, he still got it. It's comparable to other people. And get this too, we're getting into that. How'd I put it, Alan? It's the second phase of the season. We're first going through training camp. The young legs are fresh. Everybody's excited. Now, a lot of the veterans who maybe didn't quite have the strenuous training camp, strenuous summers where they just kind of took care of their body, they're not getting into real basketball shape. So when those guys are getting into basketball shape, they're going to outplay some of these young guys.
mm.
Now it's a matter of legs, where you are. Rockets are on a brutal road trip right now. Keep that in mind. I think we've been gone. It's about to be a 2-week road trip because what they did with the playing game is added another trip on the road. They added another trip. So you guys had a 5 gamer. Let's make it a 6 gamer.
Mm.
And so these are all factors that you're looking to weigh in. And Alan, sometimes your group it feels like the whole month you'll be gone and traveling and moving. And I think on straight through January, Houston Rockets have a brutal schedule where there was a lot of time off, a lot of rest. So we'll look at schedule, we'll look at roster over record, and then ultimately understand that some of these guys that are older, they still have it. They're coming into shape. It's hard to stay on top, and it's hard to stay on the bottom of the West.
I'm fascinated with the Rockets, and I want to have kind of a better idea and a better gauge of what they are in the Western Conference. Um, Before I do, I want to ask you one question on the Lakers and just get your opinion on. So, when the Lakers are healthy, they can put up points like nobody else, right? Austin Reeves is playing at an all-star level this year. Luka's leading the league in scoring. LeBron looks like he's just kind of getting back into a rhythm. Ayton can get you a double-double every game. Rui's hitting shots. Um, can you take the Lakers seriously? They have great individual players, but they don't have, I would say, just a collective team, some good depth, guys that can come in where, the bench is going to give you exactly what you need. And they just don't play enough defense. You on the outside looking in and looking at the Lakers, you'll get a closer look at them tomorrow. We'll see if Luka ends up going or not. How just the philosophy of how the Lakers are built right now, and even if you just took the name out of the Lakers, if I said here's a team that could put up points, but they can't get stops, they have a little bit lack of depth when you start looking at that bench. How serious do you think you could take the Lakers based off of what I just described?
I mean, I think they can play with the league's best. But I think the challenge there, are they going to defend? And roster wise, are they going to tweak things? I don't think anybody on their bingo card said LeBron was going to miss multiple games to start the season. And then the second on the bingo card was that Austin Reeves was going to look like a franchise player. Not that he's not a great player, not that he wasn't a spark plug, not that isn't a guy that can go in and get you 30 and maybe hot to get you 40, but he was going to come out and look like a franchise player. So much
Mm,
so that you said, is LeBron James going to come off the bench? Is LeBron James going to be traded or moved? And a guy who really stepped into a certain role. So, what's that done? It's arose more questions to say, does he need to come off the bench? Defensively, how good is this group? Because those three together are going to struggle ultimately to defend. So you
sure.
got two guys that you kind of need to protect. Excuse me, three guys you need to protect. 2 to 3 are going to play, and 2 to 3 are your best scorers, and 2 to 3 can hold almost a unit by themselves. If they're hot and the ball's in their hand, you think about Austin Reeves beating Minnesota by himself. That was a
Hmm.
monster game, hitting shot after shot, getting to the hole. So you got three guys who you can kind of feature. So I think the Lakers, because of that, are in a unique space, and then essentially LeBron back is going to either affect Austin Reeves, or Austin Reeves is going to affect LeBron James, and that
Mm.
that streak of 10 points scored was snapped, because the ball wasn't in his hands and he had to work his way back in. So they're going to have to figure out their chemistry. I think what JJ's impressing is you guys are working about the offensive chemistry, and defensively, we're not bringing it, and we're allowing people to score and get comfortable. And I think for a lot of teams that score at a high clip, that's the challenge. I know it is with the Houston Rockets right now. Kevin Durant came in, and you had a group that was leading the league in offense. So it was like, there's a certain extent, like, forget defense because they can't score with us. And now you get to moments where you got to defend, and now you got a group in Houston that's got to recalibrate. So I think the lineups, it was definitely I don't a happy thing in LA for Austin Reeves to come around. But I think as far as this season, the question mark of how that's going to fit, and I don't think LeBron James is a tradable contract. Not that he's not a great player, not that he can't bring something to the table, but just that, why would he want to leave LA? You know, that you'd end up shaking up so much more by doing anything like that. And then Austin Reeves is young, so why would you trade Austin Reeves? So,
Mm.
you know, you're gonna have to find a way to make this group here work and see what those lineups look like. But you got three guys you can really argue that are best with the ball in their hands.
Mm. Yeah, it's that's the observation. And at the end of the day, and I don't need to have this conversation with you. There's two sides to the court, and I listening yesterday. Stu Lance, legendary Stu Lance, obviously been a part of the broadcast for a long time on TV. He said they were getting ready to throw it to the post game show, and he said something to the effect of, "Well, they only have to talk about one side of the court because the Lakers weren't playing on the other side of the floor." So it's going to be interesting to kind of watch. I think what you said in the beginning too about personnel, they got some time to figure some stuff out, but it's clear and it's apparent that if they want to hang with some of the elite in the Western Conference, you just got to have more balance, and we'll see what the Lakers end up doing. Um, for those who have not got a chance to watch a ton of Lakers, or I'm sorry, a ton of Rockets games this year, talk to us about the Houston Rockets. They're 17-10 on the season, kind of going through a stretch. When I say I'm a little confused, hanging with Denver in a tough game, they don't have calls go their way. They end up losing that game. Come back around, win a game at Denver where they blow them out. But they've also had a handful of losses over these last couple of weeks. What are the Rockets? Give me kind of the foundation of what the Rockets are.
It's a very unique group, to say the least. Without Fred VanVleet, you've seen some moments where, um, keep in context when I say this, you don't miss Fred. And then you've seen some moments where you're going, oh my God, where's Fred VanVleet?
Mm.
You got to have something close to Fred. So you've seen a little bit of both. When the team's flying around, defending, you see a lot of the size. You're going, man, this is a unique, fun group. And then sometimes um, handling pressure, executing late in games, and these are all expected, Alan. But I think the silver lining is that you've seen Reed Shepard have some moments where he's been absolutely outstanding. I mean, Thompson's had some monster games, and guys have gotten opportunities that they probably wouldn't have gotten, if Fred is there. So that's, I think, the silver lining in it. And then you got a group that's trying to figure it out, tough road trip, and then still trying to work with KD. He's one of the more unique players I've ever seen because the way that he can score the basketball, uh, um, how efficient he is, and I think he's so good. Literally, still, Alan, your
Mm-hmm.
task was saying, how do we get him the ball? He's so good. We're almost like, forget anybody else shooting, get him something. And I think finding ways to get Kevin involved, maybe as a screen setter to get someone open. He set a screen, I think, 2 games ago. I mean, Thompson's wide open. Both guys go with KD. Using his gravity to create looks for others. Still finding out how he can work best with Alperen Şengün. And they play a good two-man game, but I don't think it's great yet, where you're going, we can't help off those two guys. And I think the best thing is comparative to the Lakers, you got three ball dominant guys. With Alp and KD, those two can play off of each other because Alp has a really unique skill set to pass. So there's a lot chemistry wise that's being fine tuned with the Houston Rockets. And it's a group that, similar to the Lakers, in a different way, but similar, got away from defending.
Mm.
And the nuts and bolts of this roster, in Ime's standpoint, is to defend. And I think there's maybe some changes made going into that Laker game. I'm unique to see how it goes. And obviously, the Lakers are always that team with the target on the back, especially with LeBron James, that people want to beat. They're going to get up. They're not going to look
Sure.
and give the Lakers anything easy. You know that.
Yeah. So you mentioned Ime Udoka, and I'm with you when you say I think the Rockets if I'm right, have lost 4 out of their last 5 games. So they got off to a great start as well. And the West is the West. It's an 82 game grind. I'm sure there's going to be some ups and downs, but I was surprised to see that, especially because I was so looking forward to that late or that Denver Rockets game to see what that looks like. Both of those games, they could have won that first game. They didn't, but they respond, win the second game. But they've had a couple of L's in between. Um, Udoka for a quick second. Is his philosophy, culture, is it all primarily on the defensive side? Is that kind of his pedigree? Is that his foundation? And I ask that question because if the Rockets are going to be the best version of themselves, what is that blueprint?
Well, it's absolutely on the defensive side. I think in fairness, here's the best attribute of Ime. He doesn't just say my way or the highway. He adapts to his roster. He adapted to Operation Goon. He adapted to Dylan Brooks. He adapted to Fred VanVleet to put guys in positions where they can be the absolute most successful on the floor. And I feel like he's adapted to the players in this group that he has. And I think he's going to start getting a little bit more towards the we did it your way. We lost 4 of the last 5. Now it's time to do it my way.
Hmm.
So I'm intrigued to see how he steps in. And obviously, looking at the Lakers roster, it's going to be energy, trying to get on transition, speeding the game up. A lot of Amin Thompson. So I think that's the challenge. And then also, too, Amin Thompson is still coming into his own. He's got the ball in his hands. He's being asked to play, make, asked to create more, and he's still finding his way. He's electric at defending, all NBA first team defender. He's electric um, at in transition. He's got one man in front of him. He's going to beat him and get a good bucket. And I think he's still finding his way in the half court. And there's nothing wrong with that because this group is leaning on him in different ways. So he's still maturing. And there's a lot that's being placed on his shoulders.
I mentioned, and I think this is kind of just comes with the territory, right? Lakers, what do they do by the trade deadline? How do they improve their team? How aggressive do you think the Rockets are going to be? It's so easy to just kind of get in this tunnel vision of just looking at your team. And it's like, well, the Lakers need a 3-and-D guy, and they could use a couple more defenders. Well, I think most of the league would like more 3-and-D guys and defenders. Um, does Houston, do you think, and obviously we're not naming names or any of that stuff, but do you think they're aggressive? How aggressive do you think they are? And does that just mostly have to do with they lost their starting point guard before the season even started?
Well, definitely above my pay grade, but we'll lean on history, right?
Mm,
I know if Rafael Stone is going to make a move, it's going to be the right one. It's going to be a safe one. He's a guy. If he don't take a bet that he ain't winning,
mm,
you know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And we've seen that from him. And I think the challenges now are everybody knows you need a point guard. You need that. That's missing obviously with Fred. And I think the challenge from him is the challenge for him is at what cost? You got Reed Shepard, who's had some fantastic games. You're still evaluating. You got him in Thompson that if he comes into his own, he's just one of the more unique players in the league. He's a one percenter. Um, at what cost do you want to lose one of these players?
Mm,
And I think that's the challenge for him and lose the group that you have. And also the urgency that on the other side, the urgency that says you got a championship level team. Oklahoma City just got knocked out by San Antonio. San Antonio, you assume is going to have some bit of growing pains within there, and it's a unique space to be in. And I think he's got a chance to evaluate what you have and hopefully get to a spot where you don't need to make a move or it's a minimal move. You don't want to have to bring in that and then just checking the temperature and the chemistry of this team. So um, there's going to be challenges, but I think for him it's going to be discretion, above all. And then on a side note, and I haven't heard this from anywhere, but I know from a player standpoint when I played, um, guys want a chance to win. They want to be a part of something special.
mm,
And Alan, you can answer this even if you are an NBA free agent or you're a guy that gets bought out or you're a guy on a team that's
mhm.
a veteran who can play and the team is looking to go younger. That buyout market, if I'm in the buyout market, I'm looking to Houston, probably
Sure.
more so than any other team,
Mm.
to say, man, play alongside Kevin Durant. Are you kidding me? Play with Alperen Şengün? There's minutes that I can play that are
Mm.
available.
A good
That may
identity
be
too. Mhm.
that may be in a good city and good like so that may be a really realistic option there where you're not putting pressure on the cap and you're not breaking up the nucleus that you built. And I think that obviously that's where the discretion goes to the front office and the things that they're going to look at and say, what is the right move. And if you get an understanding that a player might be let out, or these teams are going younger. Oh, he's not playing. All right, well, buy me out. Hey, I was a guy that got bought out and went to the Celtics. And that's probably the year I did that. They weren't probably looking to get more athletic in the front court because they're like, all right, well, he gets bought out. He'll come and we'll be good at that point. So your agent kind of works behind the scenes and make these things happen.
Final one I got for you, brother, and I appreciate you taking the time. Lakers taking on the Rockets tomorrow. I'm gonna come out of that game for a quick second. You mentioned the Spurs for a quick second. I mentioned the Spurs. I thought San Antonio would be competitive this season, but I was looking at them more of a, hey, maybe they'll be around that sixth spot in the Western Conference. They get into the playoffs. Wemby will get his first opportunity to be in the postseason. They got 7 losses up to this point. They played great ball when Wemby wasn't there. They're playing at another level now with Wemby. Are they ready? I mean, is this you just kind of assume because they got so many young players that the timing is not now. How surprised are you the way they're competing in the Western Conference and just beat the Thunder 2 games in a row?
My bingo card didn't have them beating the Thunder 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
But I also, leave a lot of room for when Wimby's ready. It's gonna be it's gonna be a problem because he's truly unique. Forget offensively, defensively, he just cleans up a lot. They're able to really get into the ball and pressure the basketball,
Mm,
and then De'Aaron Fox gives them a closer.
mm,
So I think it was just a challenge of how it all kind of comes together, and then them being healthy and not seeing Fox for so long. So you look at San Antonio, and I think we're trying to figure out what they are now. I want you to rest assured that they're going to see Oklahoma City again, and it's going to be a completely different game plan. Now we're playing chess versus checkers. Um, but Wimby's such a wild card, man, because he's got this bullish confidence. And I think for us, as we evaluate him, it's a matter of confidence and kind of are you getting in people's face? Like, are you
mm.
competing? And that, like, the edginess that he's coming with has everybody feeling extremely promising about what he can bring to the table. And it's a unique space in San Antonio. We lost to him earlier in the season. It's like, oh man, we lost to San Antonio. I remember having a feeling after the game, like, man, and I don't think Fox didn't play yet. And I was like, I know they're not supposed to be one of those teams, but I was like, man, they're pretty darn good, dude. Like they were pretty darn good.
Well,
And I was right.
outside of Wemby and Fox, they're so talented. They're so young, fearless. And Lakers, have dealt with this as well. They played them in the quarterfinals, right? That was without Wemby, and that was at Crypto.
Yeah.
Lakers weren't in the game. There was maybe a stretch where it got down to like 8 or 9, and the crowd was excited. That's how much San Antonio controlled the game. And Spurs got the Thunder again tomorrow. So that's going to be 3 games in about 10 days against each other, this time in OKC. So we don't have to wait too long. Brother, I know you had a game last night. You got a game coming up tomorrow. I really appreciate you taking the time. Hope you're doing well, family's doing well. And thank you for joining the show.
Anytime, brother, man. Great to see you. Keep it up, man. You're doing great, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Happy holidays to you. That is Ryan Hollins right there. All right, great stuff. Yeah, it's a good dude right there. Really, really good dude. Known him for a while now. Obviously, my time on radio, but always very kind with his time. And listen, he's going to offer a perspective. When you could be 10 years in the NBA, you can offer a perspective that most people don't have. So it's great to get his opinion and his thoughts on what's going on around the league. Okay, I know we got a lot of comments here. Can I almost want to screenshot this, but I'm not going to. So I haven't touched the comments here. The whole interview that we had there. There are 418 comments waiting. For the love of what can possibly be 418 comments out of all that? I appreciate that. Thank you for everybody obviously chiming in and giving their opinion on the show and some of these different topics. Before I do so, let me give a shout out here. Harris Resort SoCal. Shout out to one of our new partners here. Shout out to a resort, one of the nicest resorts in all of Southern California, located in North San Diego in an area called Valley Center. You can probably get there anyway. If you're in SoCal, you're getting there within an hour to 2 hours. Here's what I'm going to encourage people to do. Just go to the website. Go to harrissocal.com. And if you're looking for a getaway, if you just want to, hey, I need a breather, but I want to be smart about it. I don't want to go spend X amount of dollars. I got to worry about a flight. Then I got to go rent a car. And then I got to go do this. You don't need to do all that. Save some money. Be very strategic with your next vacation. We'll call it staycation. And get out to Harris SoCal. So they got one of the best restaurants in Southern California, Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. I've eaten there before. Phenomenal, top-notch, just a really, really, really nice place. They got a lot of different events that are on their calendar, comedians that are coming, shows that they're doing. So it's just a great place to kind of plan out a weekend or go during the week, and maybe you get better rates and things along those lines. Working with them on coming up with a package just for our listeners. So after the first of the year, give it a couple of weeks or so, we'll have something that we have for you guys. But if you're planning a getaway, you've never been out to Harris Resort, it's a beautiful, beautiful drive. Valley Center, rolling hills, just beautiful nature. They actually literally have a nature walk where you can go for a mile or so outside of the casino and just go get some fresh air. HarrisSoCal.com, HarrisSoCal.com. Looking forward to doing some stuff with them. Some broadcast stuff with them as well. So shout out to Harris Resort SoCal for being a partner. Okay, let's start looking at some of the comments. 459, 461. That's where we're stopping. 461. All right, I got some supers here I'm going to get into real quick. LeBron last night, 23, 6, and 2 with 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 personal fouls. That's no effort on defense. That's why this team doesn't play hard. This was not a problem before. It's a little dramatic there before he returned. So what is it? So Lakers are 5-5 now in their last 10 games because of LeBron. Is that what it is? And listen, you guys can chime in on this. Maybe a lot of people agree with that. But when I read some of the comments here, I hear it's Reeves's problem. I hear it's Luka's problem. I hear it's LeBron's problem. I hear it's JJ's problem. I hear it's Pelinka's problem. I hear it's the depth problem. Is it safe to say it's a little bit of everybody? Is that safe to say? That if you're asking for LeBron getting ready to turn 41 years old to still carry your team, then you got issues. That's what I would say to that. John, I appreciate the comment. Thank you for chiming in. Let's get another one here. Alan, this team isn't athletic or defensive-minded enough. I get they're injured, but it's used as a crutch. The personnel has to be improved. I don't disagree with you. You know, that's why I was trying to ask that question to Ryan Hollins when I kind of keyed in on this. I'm like, Ryan, let's say I told you there's a team out there that can score at will. They got players on the offensive side that could put up buckets. But they can't do jack you know what on the other side. Can you really take them as a championship contender? And I think we're all kind of starting to lean on, listen, if you're in a 7-game set, let's use the Lakers and the Rockets tomorrow. If you got Lakers and the Rockets in a 7-game set, do you trust the Lakers to lean on their offense to win against the Rockets over 7 games? I don't. You have to have balance. And I know we've been kind of harping on this and we've been talking about it. And a lot of this is also going to go on the front office, how they can change the personnel. We've had that conversation before. But to me, I think the thing that I want to point out now more than anything else, on top of not having the best personnel, on top of not being athletic enough, on top of having guys that are not known for their defense, now all of a sudden you could add a different wrinkle to this. Now, all of a sudden, there's just not enough effort coming from your players. That's a problem. That's definitely a problem. All right, let's get another one in here. Let me get through some of these supers here, and then I'll start looking at some of the other comments as well. The early season success shadowed their problems. I don't know how much it did. I tried to do this during some of the post-game shows where I gave the Lakers the most credit possible was when I felt like they were undermanned, but the effort was there. They played hard, they fought, and they found a way to win. You guys remember earlier in the season, we'd had conversations, and I'm like, hey, I respect the way they play, how hard they play. But there've also been a lot of games where I'm a little bit more cautious to give them credit. You know which game just keeps coming to my mind? That win against the Utah Jazz, where they're down most of the game, they take over in the fourth quarter, and then, we're all like, yeah, Lakers beat the Jazz. They gave up 135 without Lauri Markkanen in the game. That's absurd. That is absolutely absurd. 135 without Lauri Markkanen. So I think the early season success in getting wins shadowed some of their problems, but if you paid close enough attention, you knew that the defensive rating that the Lakers had, you knew the depth issue that the Lakers have, the lack of consistent bench scoring that the Lakers had. Eventually, it's going to come back and haunt them. Eventually, it's going to catch up to them. All right, let's see what we got here. This team heard him reprimand Luka for no effort and being out of shape, but his silence when his podcast partner doesn't rotate or even come across half court speaks volumes. JJ's comments were for Braun. Let's try to find. JJ had a few yesterday that I think were interesting. A couple of his quotes. Let me see if I could find some of the other ones. I don't think they were for Braun. Maybe they were. I think as a whole from the team. Okay, he talked about the shortcuts. Yeah, I don't know if I could find that quote right now. John, listen, if you're trying to tell me that LeBron's defense is a problem, I'm agreeing with you. I don't disagree with you. But everybody's defense is a problem. My point is that if you're trying to isolate one person as the problem, I have a problem with that. If you want to tell me that LeBron is one of the problems to many problems that the Lakers have on the defensive side, now I feel like that's a more objective conversation. Thank you for the supers, guys. I really appreciate all the supers. Got a decent amount of them today, so thank you very much for doing that. All right, let's see some of the other comments here. Blaming LeBron is not going to fix all our problems. Well, he's also not the only person. He's not the only problem. There's other players that are in their mid-20s that don't play defense on this team. That's what I would tell you. All right, let's see what else. Slee, you were saying this after they played a team like the Pelicans. It was fool's gold. I don't even know. Sometimes I think you get confused too, where you say to yourself, all right, maybe they're just playing down to their competition. But again, the numbers are still the numbers. Trevor Lane was on, maybe it was a couple weeks ago or so. I can't remember when exactly it was, whenever it was. And we would talk about, here's the record, but here's what they're doing on a night in, night out basis. That obviously is going to have a bigger picture from a story perspective. All right, let's get some more here. A 40-year-old shouldn't have to be the best player. That's the point that I'm making when I'm having that conversation with some of these supers here. And I think if you're asking for this to be on LeBron's back, or you're saying the Lakers are where they are because of LeBron, come on, that's it's a little absurd to me. There are issues, but there are definitely the responsibility goes to more than just one or two people. That part is obviously definitely a big part of it. All right, let's see here. Inflation is high, LeBron's fault. Just saying. He could have done more with inflation. He makes $56 million, and they don't Slee got to stop. If he didn't want the heat, he should not have taken the money. You give him the heat. Nobody's saying don't give him the heat. But it's absurd if you think it's just on him. Okay, let's keep rolling here. Let's keep rolling here, guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out. We got some NBA topics that we'll get into before we get out of here. And then, like I said, for those who do not know, tomorrow, no live show. Friday, no live show. I am going to react post-game tomorrow after the Lakers take on the Houston Rockets. Lakers and the Rockets, listen, it's not like it's been perfect. They haven't been. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. They lost to the Clippers, the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Nuggets. In their last 5 games, they have 1 win on the road where they handled the Denver Nuggets, but they've lost 4 of 5. So Houston's beatable. I think you're taking on the Rockets at a time where they're a little bit vulnerable. Now, I'll tell you something that the Rockets will do, and we'll find out what the Lakers are. I thought it was interesting, Ryan Hollins saying, maybe there's some changes tomorrow. Maybe I'm going to let the team kind of do what they want to do, but they've lost 4 of 5. He's like, all right, your idea is not working. Let's try my idea. Maybe he makes some changes in the starting lineup. I'm looking forward to that game because I think it's going to be an entertaining game, and I want to see how the Lakers perform against Houston. But as of right now, I'm not giving any edge to the Lakers based on how they've been playing, and we're still questions in the air about Luka. What did they say about Luka? I saw something here. JJ Redick says Luka Doncic is doing fine. I'm reading this from Dave McMenamin. And remains day-to-day with the left calf contusion. Rui Hachimura is also day-to-day. Gabe Vincent will be reevaluated on Thursday. Man, Gabe Vincent cannot just be healthy for the Lakers, can he? He just cannot be healthy for the Lakers. Okay, a couple things around the NBA. Let me hit on real quick. Did you guys see some of the games yesterday? I know I mentioned it already. And then we'll hit on the Christmas games, and then we're going to get out of here. Yesterday, there were some good games. Some good matchups in the NBA that I was looking forward to. Here's what I did not know was going to happen. I didn't know Cooper Flagg was going to drop 33-9-9 on the Denver Nuggets, and the Nuggets were going to lose to Dallas 131-130. My God, Cooper Flagg dropping 33-9-9 in his rookie season. That's wildly impressive. All right, I think there were some injuries in the Knicks-Timberwolves game. Let me see who played. Yeah, they didn't play Jalen Brunson. Minnesota got another win. Minnesota now 9 games over 500, kind of quietly here. We've been talking about so many different teams in the Western Conference. I think Minnesota's success has gone under the radar. They're 20-10. They're 10 games over 500 now. So Minnesota handles business yesterday. Anthony Edwards dropped 38 points. And then, obviously the big game that we're all talking about, Thunder and the Spurs. Look at the Spurs now. 22-7 on the season. They've won maybe 6 or 7 games in a row. I'll look at the standings here in just a second. But everybody played yesterday for OKC. Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Dort was in the starting lineup. Jalen Williams. They played Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace. They played everybody yesterday. And San Antonio just keeps beating the Thunder. The San Antonio Spurs now, 22-7. They're 3 games back in the loss column of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Just a week ago, we were talking about how the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to try to, or maybe 10 days ago, they're going to try to break Golden State's record. Since then, they've lost 3 of their last 4 games. So they lost 1 game to Minnesota, 2 games against the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs are wildly impressive. And guys, they got guys. I mean, I know we want to talk about Wembanyama. I know we do. Yesterday, Wemby had 12 points. That's it. 23 minutes of play. It's all the other guys. Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes had 20 for them yesterday. De'Aaron Fox didn't even have a good game. He only had 6 points. Keldon Johnson had 25 points for them. They just got a ton of young guys that are playing some really good basketball right now, so watch out for the San Antonio Spurs. Standings real quick. Thunder, 3.5 game lead over the Spurs. Denver at number 2, Denver at number 3, Lakers at number 4. But the difference between 4 and 6 is a game and a half. So Minnesota lurking, Houston struggling a little bit, but they're right in the mix as well. And then the Phoenix Suns at 16-13 after they beat the Lakers. Final thing I got on the NBA, tomorrow 5 games. Cavs and the Knicks to start it off at 9 a.m. Spurs and the Thunder after that at 11:30. That's the only game I care about, to be honest with you, at least of some of these other games. Mavericks and the Warriors I have zero interest in. Really, I don't have interest in the Cavs and the Knicks either. Lakers and the Rockets at 5. And then Minnesota taking on the Nuggets, I think actually will be a pretty good game. So there's some decent games on Christmas. No games tonight. So just a reminder, no games tonight. Let's read a couple of comments. Then we're going to call it a day. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys chiming in. We should take Malik Monk's contract for Keon Ellis. So take one contract to go get another player in Keon Ellis. Man, I've heard Keon Ellis' name so much over the last couple of months, it makes me think Keon Ellis ain't coming to the Lakers. All right, let's get a couple more comments in here. Appreciate you, brother. 20 spot right there. Why is everybody so kind right now? Is it the holidays? Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I had a freaking dude yesterday in the postgame show gift out $100. Very, very kind of you guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. Whether it's $2, $5, $10, $20, or nothing at all. I appreciate you guys being here. So thank you very much. Tamales on me, Slee. My man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. I think I might take you up on that offer. All right, let me get one more super in here. John, the Lakers have deficiencies. By the way, John, you're throwing money in left and right. I do appreciate it. I know we disagree in a lot of the LeBron conversation. It doesn't matter, but I do appreciate you throwing out these supers. So thank you very much for the 20 spot here. The Lakers have deficiencies on defense as a whole, but they play as a cohesive unit and give maximum effort when LeBron isn't there. When JJ doesn't reprimand LeBron for his lack of effort and antics, the team quits on him. All right, let's see how the rest of this season kind of plays out. And if there's some truth to that, then let's see how the rest of the season kind of progresses. The whole squad is bad on defense. And there is a little bit. What I'll give you is this. If LeBron is all over the place, then no other player can make any excuse not to give effort. But if you're a player on this team and you got LeBron next to you who's about to turn 41 years old, the least you could be freaking doing is giving everything you got on the defensive side when you're in there. And, obviously hoping that the Lakers can get through some of their defensive deficiencies like we're talking about. John, thank you for the super. Jay, thank you for the super. Appreciate all these supers here. There's a ton of them. So thank you very much for everybody kind of chiming in, giving a little bit today. So I appreciate everybody doing that. All right. I think that's all we got today. Okay, we're not going to see each other until Monday of next week. It doesn't mean I'm not going to do shows. I know I'm going to do a recorded show post-game tomorrow. Maybe I'll chime in on Friday. I don't know. I have no idea. But if I do anything, I don't think it's going to be live. Maybe I isolate a topic and just put some content out there. What am I talking about? We're not going to see each other until Monday. Lakers got a game on Sunday night. Yeah, don't listen to me. I'll post a post-game video tomorrow. No morning show tomorrow and no morning show Friday. Another post-game show coming up on Sunday. Lakers got a game on Sunday. So we'll do all of that. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Shout out to all the subscribers. Shout out to all the members that were a part of the show at 7:30. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. Hopefully everybody's enjoying their holidays. And I will see you guys soon. Video tomorrow after the Lakers take on the Houston Rockets. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas. Thank you again for all the supers, and I will see you guys soon.